everyone, Ange here. Very excited about the release yesterday for Xero. Really excited about all the features that have come out. Wanted to throw something together for you in a video so that you had a bit of an idea of what all those features are, what they do, how they're going to work, and how they benefit you and your client. So enjoy. If you've got any questions, you know where to find us. You now have the ability to send out online quotes in the same way that you can with online invoices. So what I've got here is an example of a quote to creative thinking for the Become an Expert Bookkeeper course. So let's just click into that. We'll just have a little bit of a look at what the elements are that make up the quote and how they work with the new online invoice function or online quote function. So we can see here that we've got a standard quote. It's got all the components for the quoting that you've been using up until now. The only difference is that now under the file attachments, we've got this ability to add documents to go out with the online quote. So I've got here a JPEG, which is the logo for the Become an Expert Bookkeeper. I've got a text file. And I've also got a PDF that I want to add to that quote. So I'm just going to click on the cog drop down and click on include with quote. So the important thing to note here is that there are documents that you can attach to the quote to keep internal, and there are documents that you can attach to actually send out with the quote itself. So I'm just going to include that with a quote, and we can see that now all those three documents will go out when I send my quote out. Now all I'm going to do is just click on the send button. I'm happy with the quote as it is. I'm just going to click on send. Now one of the important things that you'll need to note for your clients is that you will need to go through the process of updating their quote email settings or their email template. You can see here that I've just gone through and added a couple of extra lines to the quote. Let's just send it out. So you'll see you've got the ability to send a copy to yourself, but you don't have the ability to not include the PDF attachment. So that will come as by default now. So let's just pop in my email address and we'll send that off. Okay, once that's been sent, we have the notification that the quote has been sent and the indicator. And if we go into quotes, we can see here that the quote has now moved from the draft tab into the sent tab. So here we can see that I'm looking at the quote in my email. We've got a PDF attachment of the quote, and that's going to appear according to the branding template that you've chosen. And we've got a link to the online quote. So if I click on the link and open that up, so here we've got the online quote. From the online quote, you've got the option to accept the quote, decline the quote, or add a comment. So let's just go through each of those options. If you're going to add a comment, the supplier will be emailed immediately with the details of what that message is, and the message will also be appended to the history and notes section of the quote so that you've got a record of it within the Xero file. If you're going to decline the quote, there is also an option to send a message, and again the supplier will get an immediate notification that that quote has been declined. And the declined quote will then be marked as declined. Okay, so we're just going to go through the process now of just marking that as declined. You can see that it's been the quote's been declined online. If I go back into the actual quote and refresh my screen, we'll see that it's now no longer sitting in my pipeline. But if I go to all, I can actually view that declined quote under the all tab. We're just going to open it up. Once you've unmarked it as declined, you've got a lot of options under the options tab to mark it as accepted, mark it as declined. So you can do that manually at any stage as you have always been able to. Once it has been marked as unmarked as declined, if I view the quote again online and just refresh my screen, we'll see that it's been restored to the original options that we've got here. Having a look at the screen on the right hand side, we can see that we've got the little 3 file attachments. We've got the ability to print this out as a PDF. And if I scroll down, you will actually see the attachments all attached to this particular quote. So we've got the JPEG, we've got the text file, and I've got the PDF that I added as well. So what we can do now is we can go through the process of accepting that quote. Once I've accepted the quote, again, the supplier will get a notification by email, and we'll also see on the actual quote, in the history and notes, we'll see that there has been an acceptance made as well. So if we scroll down the bottom here in the quote has now been marked as accepted. Under the history and notes, we can see that the quote has been accepted and it's got by system generated. So it gives you the date stamp for when that quote was accepted. You have got the ability then straight away to create an invoice. You can, under the options, you can unmark as accepted. So if for whatever reason your client has made an error, you've got the option to go through and unmark as accepted, and that will restore it back to that draft state for you. Once the quote has been accepted, it will move through to the accepted label under your pipeline so that you can easily track the process of the quotes. Another exciting feature is the change to the way that file attachments can be viewed within an online invoice. We can email those out to our clients and they will be able to download them and view them from within the email itself. So here we are in an invoice for Bayside Club. If I click on the file attachment, you can see that I've got a file attachment PDF there that I've chosen to include with the invoice. So remember to do that, we just click on the cog and we include or don't include with the invoice. Once we click on the email button and we are getting ready to send this invoice out to our client, if we have a look down the bottom here, we've got a number of options. We can include the files as attachments. We can include a PDF attachment. So that's the actual PDF of the invoice. You can include that as an attachment as well. Let's have a look at what that email actually looks like once it's been received by the recipient. So here we've got the email open. I can see that I've got the body of the invoice, the body of the email with a link to the online invoice, and I've got a couple of attachments. The first one is the actual invoice, and the second one is the PDF that I chose to send along with that invoice. So that's pretty exciting. That gives you the option to send out for your clients where they might have insurance, or there may be special documents that they need to send out to get signed. That kind of thing can now be attached at the quoting stage, and then once it gets to invoice, you can actually choose to then attach them again and send them out as file attachments. Okay, let's take a look now at the Unmerged Contact feature. We're in the contacts area of Xero, and you can see that I have entered Bayside into the search criteria, and we've got Bayside Club and Bayside Wholesale both selected. We've got bills for both of those entities and an invoice for Bayside Club. So let's have a look at those bills. I'm just going to click onto the bills tab that I've got open, and you can see here that we've got an approved bill for Bayside Wholesale and a draft and an approved bill for Bayside Club. I've also got a spend money transaction that I've got open as well, originally at the moment it's in Bayside Club. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the process of merging Bayside Club with Bayside Wholesale. So I'm going to select Bayside Wholesale from the drop down, and once I click yes, Bayside Club will be merged with, or the transactions for Bayside Club will be merged with Bayside Wholesale, and we can see that we've now got one entity or one contact archived under the archive tab. Once that merge has taken place, you can see we've got a confirmation message that's come up. We've got the ability to view the merged contact, or if we've made an error, we can undo that merge immediately. Let's go in and have a look at the merged contact. We can see here now that Bayside Wholesale has got sales invoices outstanding of 105, and we've got total bills of 970. We've also got a transaction we can see sitting here for $4.20, which is our spend money transaction. Let's go through to the Bills tab and just have a look at those transactions under their new name. So we can see here that just by refreshing the screen, Bayside Wholesale has been replaced for all of those transactions. And under the spend money, if we refresh that screen, we can see that the spend money transaction has now been renamed as Bayside Wholesale as well. So we've got the ability to merge a contact multiple times. So you may decide that you're going to merge Bayside Wholesale with Basket Case, for example. Now you are able to go through the process of unmerging each of those entities, regardless of how many times you've merged them. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through the process of unmerging the Bayside Club entity. So we're going to go to the Archive tab. We can see Bayside Club sitting here, so I'm just going to select it. And by clicking on Restore Contact up the top here, it will actually bring up a message to let us know that the history for this particular contact will also be restored. So let's click on Restore. We can see that it's been removed from the Archive tab. Let's go to the All tab and see, by searching, we will bring up both of those Bayside entities. We can see here we've got Bayside Club. The history for Bayside Club has been restored. Bayside Wholesale has been reduced to what it was originally. So again, if we go to our Bills tab, and I'll just refresh that screen, you can see that the name change has taken place. And the same thing if we refresh our spend money transaction, the name change has taken place on that as well. Now there is some information under the Help tab. I would suggest that you have a look particularly at the transactions and what occurs with them. You can see that invoices, bills and credit notes with draft status will be restored to the contact that they were created in. Invoices and bills and credit notes with approved or paid status are restored to the contact that they were approved in. Spend money and receive money transactions remain with the contact that they were created in, so they'll be restored back to the contact that they were created by. And quotes and purchase orders, regardless of the status, will be restored to the contact that they were created in. Side-by-side documents or side-by-side file attachments is a really exciting feature within Xero. I don't know if you've experienced the same frustration that I have when you upload a file and you're entering the data from that file document and you can't actually see the data. So what Xero's done is it's actually given you the option to, or the opportunity to be able to view that data as you're entering it. So I've got an Optus bill that I've uploaded. I'm just going to start creating that bill as a transaction within Xero. You can see it's opened up the bill data entry screen, but it's also opened up next to that the Optus bill for me so I can go through the process of entering all of that data in. So another tiny wee change has taken place in the reconciliation screen, and it's around check numbers. So if we click on more on this particular statement line, we can see that a check number has been included within the information that's been imported from the bank. Because we've quoted that same number as the reference number on the transaction when we set up the spend money transaction, Xero has been able to match that off, and both those pieces of information will appear in our bank reconciliation going forward. So it just saves you having to click into more to figure out what the check number was that was actually used to pay for this particular transaction. Just another little tiny enhancement that helps to make our lives a little bit easier. Xero's gone through the process of renaming the lock date and the end of period lock date and the end of year lock date, so that they're a little bit easier to discern what each of them does. So they've renamed the end of period lock date to say stop all users except advisors making changes on and before and then the date. And then the next one says stop all users making changes on and before and then the date. So It means that it's taking away that confusion that the lock dates are only used for a specific period of time. You can utilize those lock dates at any stage, and now it's very clear as to what each one does. And just a reminder that there is some information in the Help Center that may be helpful around what users are able to do within a locked period. So you can still create draft invoices, bills and expense claims. You can still submit invoices, bills and expense claims for approval, and you can save draft manual journals. So check out the help notes if you need to just clarify what each of those lock dates allow you to do. So one of the changes that's been made to the My Green Xero screen is the ability for Xero advisors to be able to create a trial organization for prospective clients. This gives us fantastic freedom. It means that we can set up in our partner edition a Xero trial organization for clients to have a bit of a play with, have a little bit of a startup with, but we can still control that within our partner organization or our partner edition. So you can see here that once you've clicked on the new organization button, you're given the option to enter in all the information that you've always entered. However, you've now got this ability to start a trial rather than going straight to buy now. Once you've clicked on the start trial button, it does take you straight into the process of setting up that organization. Just a reminder though that there are some limitations on the trial. So it's got a maximum trial period of 30 days. It does contain all of the full functionality of Xero, but you've got a limitation as to the number of transactions that you're able to process and run. So I'd suggest that you go through that with your client, make sure that you're aware of what those limitations are, and then just balance up whether or not it's worthwhile setting up the trial organization or whether it's better to give them guest access to the demo company so they can have a bit of a play in there. And the last little thing that I want to show you is the way that Xero has changed the method of communicating with us. So we've always seen this little letter sitting up in the top right hand side next to the Help Center icon. And if we click on that now, we've now got a change to notifications. Now this has been around for a little while where you've got the ability to have an in-app view of an update. What Xero's now moved to is that they are actually going to have little pop-ups that will come up when there's a new notification. So as well as the little number, there'll actually be little in-app pop-ups that'll come up to advise you whether or not there's a new notification of some kind for you to read. And under the settings tab down the bottom, or under the settings option down the bottom here, you've got the ability to turn those notification pop-ups off if you want to. Okay, so when you're in the notification, if you click on the notification, it will actually open up in app for you, that particular notification, so that you can then view it. So if I click on that, I can actually start the video. And if I click on the actual notification, it'll open it up in a window within the app. So it doesn't take me away from Xero at this stage. If I click on any of the links within the notification, that will take me through to the corresponding Help Center article. So that will open up the new tab in the traditional way that it always has.